Hi and welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I'm going to be taking you through a lovely morning routine. So some stretching, mobility, core activation, and it's just going to get your body prepped for the day. So if you're ready to start, come down onto the mat. So just going to lie ourselves down, and I just want you to keep your knees bent. So the first thing we're going to do is just start by bringing one knee up to our chest. So if you give yourself a little bit of a hug, so knee to chest, maybe just grab underneath the thigh rather than on top, just in case your knee is feeling a little bit tight there. And if it feels comfortable for your back, you can straighten the opposite leg. If that's too much on your back or anywhere else in your body, then just keep the knee bent. And then you're going to take the same hand, pop it on top of your knee, and you're just going to make some hip circles. So just circle the hip, nice and slowly. But the aim is that you don't actually move your body with it. So as the knee comes out, your body isn't coming with it and your pelvis isn't coming with it. So maybe to stop that from happening, you could put the opposite hand on top of the pelvic bone on your opposite side and just sort of hold that down. You'll need to engage the core and your abdominal muscles to keep that sort of pelvis and spine aligned whilst you just mobilize the hip with some circles. And then I just want you to grab hold of the thigh. So you're clasping your hands, and then you're just going to straighten and bend the knee up and down. So we're just saying hello to our hamstrings. So you're keeping the thigh nice and close to your chest as you just go up and down, bending and straightening the knee. And then we're just going to hold the leg upright. Now, it doesn't matter that your knee is not completely straight. You can have a slightly bent knee. So it's whatever you feel comfortable with as you flex the ankle up and down. So point your toes and then bring your toes towards the head. So nice and gentle. But if you need to have quite a bent knee, that's not a problem either. Go with whatever feels comfortable for you this time in the morning. And then 3 circles in one direction with the foot and 3 circles in the other direction. And then if you bring that leg back down, but I want you to bring it down with control. So you're using your abdominal muscles to lower. You're not just flopping it back down, and swap legs. So as you lift the other leg up, give your sort of self a little bit of a hug. So reach behind the thigh. Bring your knee towards your chest, give yourself a little bit of a hug, and just see how does it feel now to straighten that opposite leg. Does that feel okay? Or is that putting strain anywhere? If so, just keep the knee bent. And we're just gently pulsing towards the chest, just giving our hips a little bit of a stretch and a bit of a wake up this morning. And then with the same hand, pop it on top of your knee. So if that leg is straight or bent, whichever way you want to do it, with the opposite hand, hold down so that you're not tilting and rotating. So you're keeping yourself nice and stable, using your abdominals as you then circle the hip. So the only joint that's moving is the hip joint. Doesn't matter that they're not big circles. I haven't got very good hip range, so my circles are really small. And then give yourself a hug, so knee towards the thigh, and just hold underneath the thigh for me as you then bend and straighten the knee. So again, it doesn't matter if you haven't got a fully straight leg there, just whatever you can do. So just really feeling that stretch on your hamstring. You can actually hear my knee cracking there, so my degenerate knees, you can feel it or you can hear it creaking. And that's normal for me. So when you're finished in that upright position, I want you to go up and down with the foot. So we're just flexing, pointing and flexing the foot up and down. So mobilizing that ankle. But if you want to have a straight knee, you can if that feels comfortable for you. Or if you want to keep the knee quite bent, just whatever you feel comfortable with. And then 3 circles with your foot in one direction and 3 big circles in the other direction. And then keep that knee where it is and then bring the other leg up to join it. So I want you to give yourself a nice big hug and a back massage there. So maybe just sway from side to side. And then we're going to bring both legs back down, but again, use your abdominals and just slowly lower your legs so that you're not flopping them down. You're bringing them down with control. Keep your feet and your knees together, arms by your side, and you're just going to allow your knees to roll to one side. So I want you to make sure the shoulders are down, the chest is down, and you're not actually elevating from the shoulders and twisting from the shoulders. You're just twisting from the waist. So try to the opposite side, just twisting from the waist. Now, if it's early in the morning, you might not be able to go down that far. It doesn't matter. Go where you can. So we're just gently rolling from one side to the other. If you want to just stay here, if that is enough, then that is enough. So don't force yourself if it feels too uncomfortable. Just go to where you feel comfortable. Little movements are still movements. And then if it feels comfortable for you, just widen your feet onto the mat. And then we're going to bring both knees down again to the same side. But this time you feel more of a stretch coming down the front part of your hip and your thigh. And then the other side. So again, you're keeping your shoulders down, you're keeping your rib cage down. So you're not allowing yourself to lift up at the same time. So plant everything down nice and in contact with the mat as you then bring your legs. So it's a nice windscreen wiper action from one side to the other. Now, if this feels okay on your back, you can deepen that stretch by lifting up the outer leg, popping your heel on the outer part of the opposite knee and then just pushing down gently. And you'll feel a stretch going all the way up the outer part of your thigh, up towards your waist. But only do that if you feel comfortable. Again, swap over. Use your abdominals to bring yourself in and out of the position. So when you go over to the opposite side, lift up the outer leg, heel onto the outer part of your knee and the outside of your knee, and you're just pushing down gently. And then bring yourself out. Use your abdominals to bring yourself out of the position. Nice and slow, slow movements. So now I just want you to open up the chest. So keep your knees bent. Bring your arms nice and wide. And I just want you to look in one direction. So you're turning your head to one direction, feeling the extra stretch there. So you're trying to get your, if you can, your elbow and your hand flat onto the mat. And then we're just spending a little bit of time looking in both directions. So mobilizing the neck, opening up the chest. So just going side to side. Looking from one hand and then to the other hand. And then if you bring your hands together, reach your legs long, full body stretch. So you're really trying to reach towards opposite ends and then bring yourself back down. Okay, so with the bent knee position now, we're just going to start to wake up the core. So I want you to have your feet, your knees and your hips in alignment there. And you're going to start just tilting the pelvis. So as you tilt your pelvis so that you're flattening your lower back onto the mat, you'll feel your glutes engage. So you'll feel all your buttocks engage. You'll feel like you're tucking your tailbone underneath you. And you'll feel all these lower abdominal muscles engage as well. Some people like, as they do this, they like to feel like they're stopping the flow of urine. So they're pulling up and in through the pelvic floor. So really getting that engagement of all their core. So you're squeezing and then just releasing. And then it gets squeezing, flattening the back. And it's important as well, just to keep your rib cage down. So make sure the rib cage is down. You're not in an elevated position with your ribs. So you don't want to be able to put your hand through here. You don't want to have any kind of gap. As you tilt your pelvis, you want to feel like every single part of your spine is in contact with the mat. And you're feeling the squeeze, rib cage is down. So we're not going into that arch position. So we're just holding and squeezing with your pelvis tucked under, so feeling like your tailbone is tucked underneath you. And then we're just coming back to the mid position rather than going and creating that arch. So rather than tilting your pelvis anteriorly and creating that arch, we're just coming back to that mid position. So the next thing we're going to do is go up into a bridge. So to start the bridge, I want you to have your feet hip distance apart, knees hip distance apart as well. Make sure the knees don't knock or they don't actually go out to the side. You're going to push down through the feet as if you're squashing a bunch of grapes into the floor. So imagine you've got a bunch of grapes underneath each foot. Push down through your feet so that you engage your legs first. Then you tilt your pelvis, so as if you're tucking your tailbone underneath you. And then you're going to lift your pelvis off the mat and you're peeling one vertebrae at a time into that top bridge position. So you keep squeezing through or pushing down through the foot. So feel like you're squashing those grapes. That'll really get your hamstrings working, your glutes working. And what I don't want you to do is overshoot it where you're coming up here. So keep your rib cage down and get that nice alignment. So you're looking at shoulder, hip and knee alignment in that position rather than coming up too much where your chest is elevated. So we're going to keep the rib cage down, chest elevated and have that nice straight position. You also maybe want to have a look at what your pelvis is doing. Are you dipped on one side? So is the pelvis dipping down on one side? Are you level? So you should be level in your pelvis here. And you should be feeling like your hamstrings and your glutes and your lower core is really working. So your back extensors are working, but they shouldn't be the dominant muscle pushing you up, okay? So you should be driving through the glutes and the hamstrings in here. So when you come back down, bring yourself down with your thoracic spine first. So you're lowering through this part, through your thoracic spine, getting your thoracic spine and rib cage back down. Then your lumbar spine. Then the last thing to go back down is your pelvis. And you're just controlling that all the way. So it's nice and slow, nice and controlled. Keep the pressure through the feet the whole time. So let's just try that again. Strong through the feet. So you're squashing those grapes, tucking your pelvis underneath you, peeling yourself up one at a time. Make sure you've got this nice straight position. Knees are in alignment and knee, pelvis and shoulder is in one nice straight line there. Keep the pressure through the feet. And we're just holding that position, getting our core engaged, and then we're lowering. So bring your thoracic spine down first, then your lumbar spine, then the pelvis is the last thing. And then don't let go of muscles until you're back into that starting position. Okay, well done. So we're going to do that one more time. And this time, for those who feel comfortable, we're going to actually bring our arms up and over. So squash through the feet, tilt the pelvis, peel yourself up one at a time. And if you feel comfortable, the arms can go up and over as well. And then bring yourself back down one at a time as you control it on the way back down. Good. If that feels comfortable, let's do 3 of these. Don't overshoot it. If you need to keep your arms by the side, that's fine. But you know what you're doing now, so just keep that control. Push through the foot, tilt the pelvis, peel yourself up. Arms go up and over. And then they come back down as you bring yourself down 1 vertebrae at a time. Okay, well done. You've got a nice little core engagement there. If we go onto our front, and I want you just to pop your forehead onto your hands, and we're just going to bend and straighten the knee. So you're going to feel that sort of stretch through the thigh, so the front of the thigh, your quads. So you'll feel your hamstrings engage at the back, bend in your knee, and then the stretch of the thigh at the front. So we're just alternating. And then just have a rest. Bring yourself up into a Sphinx pose. So if you rest onto your forearms, and then we're just going to look over one shoulder and then look over the opposite shoulder. Again, give yourself a little bit of a stretch through the neck, and then stretch off the lower back even more by pushing up onto your hands. So we're arching our back this time, but what I don't want you to do is start lifting. So see how that pelvis, so try not to lift the pelvis. Try and keep the pelvis onto the mat as then you arch and try to look up as well if you can. If that's too much, then keep your vision ahead, but if you can look up as well, get a nice big stretch. Also, just be mindful of if your lower back is really, really stiff, then just stay in this position. So I'd rather you be down and looking up and down here and going up onto a full arm if you haven't quite got the range. So just do whatever you can. Okay, well done. So now if we bring ourselves onto all fours, and we're going to do some cat-cows. So with cat-cows, your head is going to come up while you're sinking through your lumbar spine and feeling like you're sticking your bottom out. And then chin to chest, tuck your tailbone underneath you as you arch. So like an angry cat. So we're just flowing from one direction to the other. Again, only go to your range, whatever you can manage. Last one. And then I just want you to reach up with one arm. So you're reaching up towards the ceiling and then you're threading the needle through. So it's coming up and then you're threading through the opposite arm and that you're looking away. So coming up and threading through, and then do the same on the other side. So you're reaching up with one arm and then you're threading through. Again, come up, threading through, look in the direction of your hand, come up and then thread through and bring that back. Well done. If you widen your knees onto the mat, toes together, and then just gently lower your bottom towards your heels. And as you do that, try and sink into the heels and bring your forehead down towards the mat. Now you may not be able to get into this position. You may want to stay on your forearms, but we're just trying to deepen the stretch. If you need to use a cushion, you could use a cushion underneath your thighs there if it's too much on your knees. But if you feel comfortable, trying to sink your bottom towards your heels and then reaching long with the hands, getting the forehead down to the mat. And then wiggle your hands to the right hand side of the mat and stretch a little bit further. Feel it more on the left hand side. And then if you wiggle your hands over to the left and stretch more, feel it more on the right hand side. But just keep the bottom sinking in towards the heels if you can. Bring yourself back into the middle and then back up into a sitting position. So we're just going to finish off reaching towards the side in a sitting position. So if this feels comfortable for you, sort of cross-legged, then that's great. If not, then maybe just sit on a cushion, or if you need to, just keep your legs either outstretched or in a bent knee position. But if you can manage a sitting position, then try and sit upright onto your sit bones. And we're just going to do some shoulder rolls. So just rolling their shoulders backwards and then forwards. And then if you can reach out to the side with one hand, so just fingertips, use your core though, so don't sink into it. So you're just sort of gently placing your fingertips there. And then we're just reaching up and over with our opposite hand. And then you can also look maybe underneath the armpit, but don't let your core go so that you sink in. So you should be able to lift that hand without sinking into it. And same on the other side. So reach out long, opposite arm goes up and over, and then you're looking underneath your armpit, but you're using your core here, so you're not leaning on your hand. So just fingertips gently resting, and then bring yourself back up. And then just give yourself a little bit of a hug and a little bit of a pat on the back, because any movement that you do is good movement. Your body will thank you for it. So that's a nice little routine that you can do in the morning just to wake your body up and get it ready for the day. Hope you enjoyed.